Alright, in this section we're going to be comparing variation in two samples. There are two assumptions. The first assumption is that the two populations are independent of each other. The second assumption is that the two populations are normally distributed. We will be using an F distribution in this section. The F distribution looks very much like the chi-square distribution, with the exception that the F distribution, the shape of the curve actually changes with the shape of the curve depends on 2 degrees of freedom. The degrees of freedom from each of the populations, as opposed to the chi-square distribution, it depends on just the 1 degree of freedom. The calculator function that we're going to be using is the 2-samp F test. So let's go ahead and start with the first example on page 480. From the problem, it says that we're using a 0.05 significance level. We are testing the claim that the weights of regular Coke and the weights of regular Pepsi have the same standard deviation. So the standard deviation 1, we're going to make 1 is Coke and then 2 Pepsi. So the claim is that their standard deviations are the same. Standard deviation 1 equals standard deviation 2. The opposite of this is standard deviation 1 does not equal standard deviation 2. This is our null hypothesis, our alternative hypothesis. So we're going to use 2-samp F test. So we open up our calculator. Okay, so we hit stat, test, and then we scroll down to 2-samp F test. Samp F test, there it is. Alright, we hit enter, and we're going to enter the statistics that are given in the problem. S1 is 0.007507. 7507. N1 is 36. S2 is 0.005701. And N2 is also 36. So the inequality we want to highlight is not equal to. Hit calculate. We're going to write down our test statistic and the p-value. Again, this is the F distribution, so our F test statistic is 1.73. And the p-value is 0.108. So we compare our p-value now to the significance level. As you can see, the p-value is not less than or equal to our significance level, so we fail to reject the null hypothesis. There is not sufficient evidence to our original claim is the null hypothesis, so we're going to write reject the claim that, and restate the claim. The two standard deviations are the same. Alright, we're not going to be finding the critical values. We're going to determine our formal conclusion and our initial conclusion using the p-value method. We're not going to use a traditional method, so we're not going to be calculating the critical values for this section. Alright, so let's do one more example. We're going to do number 4 on page 483. In that problem, we have the following statistics given, and we want to test the claim that the population of heavy marijuana users has a standard deviation different from that of light users. So 1 is going to be our light. This is our light users. This is the heavy users. Claim. We're testing the claim that tests the claim that the population of heavy marijuana users has a standard deviation different from that of light users. So sigma 1 is not equal to sigma 2. They are different. So the opposite of that is sigma 1 equals sigma 2. This is our alternative hypothesis. This is our null hypothesis. We are told to use a 0.05 significance level. And again, we're going to use 2SAMP F-test. Alright, here we go. Stat, test, 2SAMP F-test. Guess I could have just stayed at that screen. Alright, 2SAMP F-test. And we're going to enter the new statistics. Notice the sample mean is not used. We don't need the sample mean to test these claims. All we need is the sample size, both sample sizes, and we need both sample standard deviations. The sample mean, although it's given, we are not using that to test our claim. Alright, so first sample standard deviation is 3.6. The first sample size is 64. The second sample standard deviation is 4.5. And the second sample size is 65. We should have the not equal to symbol highlighted. That's our alternative hypothesis. Hit calculate. Write down the test statistic and the p-value. The test statistic is 0.64. And the p-value is 0.0780. Let me just check that. 0.0780, yes. Alright, so we want to compare our p-value to the significance level. Our p-value is not less than our significance level, therefore we fail to reject the null hypothesis. There is not sufficient evidence to our original claim is the alternative hypothesis, so we're going to write support the claim that restate the original claim. Sigma 1 does not equal sigma 2. And again, we are not finding the critical value. We're just using the p-value method for this section. Alright, so that concludes our lesson. Hopefully you took copious notes, and the assignment for tomorrow will be written on the board, as well as the sub should have the page number and problems. Have a nice day.